Recording on cloud. Okay, perfect. Okay, so it's a pleasure to have Dr. Angela Tabiri, who will give us a talk in our Black History Month event, where we are celebrating the contribution of Black mathematicians to mathematics. So little about Angela. So Angela did her PhD in Glasgow in 2019. Yeah, so she's product of UK mathematics as well, partly. I hope she can visit us in person as well soon, fingers crossed. And her field of research are in commutative algebra, Hopf algebra, quantum groups, and quantum homogeneous spaces. She's at the moment at AIMS Ghana. She's a Google postdoctoral fellow. And she's also leading a unique initiative called Femafricmaths, which promotes STEM education among African female students. So without further ado, I introduce you Angela Tabiri. She'll be talking about Femafricmaths, documenting the stories of female African mathematicians. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you very much, Pankaj. Just a second, let me share my screen. So I'd like to start by saying thank you to Patrick and Emmanuel for inviting me to this talk. Patrick Dory taught me when I was a master's student at AIMS Ghana, and it's such an honor to receive an invitation from him to speak here. So just like was mentioned, my talk today will be about something I started in 2018 when I was a PhD student in Glasgow. So it's called Femafricmaths, and today's talk will be documenting the stories of female African mathematicians. So I've highlighted here Fem, Afrique, and Maths because that's how it came about the name Femafricmaths. Okay, so since it's Black History Month, I wanted to give a bit of background of where I'm coming from, the links with how Black people made it to the UK and other places. So I come from Ghana. So Ghana, where is Ghana? Ghana is in West Africa. So Ghana is in West Africa. Our neighboring countries are Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, Togo, and the Atlantic Ocean. So yes, Ghana, what do we have in common with the UK? In Ghana, we are always on the GMT. So currently the UK is 1 hour ahead of us, but I think by the end of this month, clocks go back and we'll all be on the GMT. Previously, Ghana was known as the Gold Coast, which ties in so well with what we are celebrating. So why? Because there was a lot of gold in Ghana, so which meant that there was a lot of trade and a lot of interest here. Okay, where did the trade happen? So because the trade happened along the coast, one key place that played a key role was the central region. So I come from the central region. So when you say where you come from is mainly where your parents originally come from. So I come from central region, in particular, it happens to be on this map. But I grew up in Accra. And something significant about Cape Coast is that was one of the main places where trade took place. So that was trade in timber, in gold and the rest. So if I started with the Portuguese, so there were castles all along the coast, but Cape Coast played a key role. But once the trade ended, the castles were now used for slave trade. So the Cape Coast Castle, so there's a castle along the coast called the Cape Coast Castle. If you've been to Ghana, you probably have visited. It's one of the major tourist attractions, and there most of the slaves that's left to the Americas, the Caribbeans and the rest left from Cape Coast here. Okay, so that's a little bit of background where I'm coming from and linking it to the Black History Month. And so that's a little bit about Ghana. Okay, so since I'm talking about people's stories, I decided to start with my own story. So my story, so I live in Tema. I was born in a Shaiman. And I did most of my education in Accra. So Accra is the capital of Ghana. So I've lived in Accra most of my life. I only moved out of Accra to the central region when I went to Ames. So I'll just give a little bit of my educational background. So I went to the University of Ghana. So that was where I did my undergraduate education. I have a bachelor's degree in mathematics and economics, which is a bit strange because that's more of an arts background. I didn't go the science route. I went more of the arts background, but later on I realized I really enjoyed mathematics. So I just focused mainly on mathematics. So from the University of Ghana, I went to Ames, Ghana for my master's, and that's where I met Patrick. So Ames, Ghana is in the central, it was in the central region, so between Salt Pond and Cape Coast. That was where I had my master's education. And one beautiful thing about where we was it was along the coast, which meant that you could see the sea right within some few meters. When you were eating, you had the breeze and all that. So it was such a great experience, not just about the maths, but the scenery at Ames. But currently Ames has moved to Accra. So unfortunately, we don't have that scenery here. In Accra, we are inland, so you don't get to see the scene. So from Ames, Ghana, I went to ICTP. So at the International Center for Theoretical Physics, I did a postgraduate diploma in mathematics before I decided to do a PhD in mathematics. So for PhD, I went to the University of Glasgow, yes, which ties in with my UK ties. Yes, so I went to Glasgow for my PhD. I worked with Ken Brown and Ulrich Kramer for my PhD. So that's a bit of my background in mathematics. Yeah, so this month is Black History Month, and last week we had the Black Heroes of Mathematics conference, and one thing that really came up in discussions there was, what is your definition of a hero of mathematics? There were a lot of arguments about who qualifies to be a hero of mathematics. So before that, I wanted to make this quite interactive. So I prepared an interactive thing on Mentimeter. So I'm going to put the link in the chat box. So I would like you to click on this link. It will take you to menti.com. Otherwise, too, there's a code. If you go to menti.com, you can also use the code 8096 and 712. Yes. So using these, I'm going to stop sharing this screen and share another screen. I would like to take your feedback on 2 questions just to see some heroes of mathematics that we probably have heard of. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen. If you could please use the link or use the website address in the code, that would be great. So I'm going to share my other screen, and let's see the comments we will have on this. Okay, so great. So sharing my screen now. Okay, great. So we'd like to find out any mathematician character you've seen in a book or a movie. Okay, I can see Ramanujan. Okay, Alan Turing, yes. Hawking, Nash, yes. Euler, Lovelace, yes. Any more? Yes, John Nash. Galois, yes. Galois. Newton, yes. Maxwell, okay. Feynman. Oh, Kepler, yes. Johannes Kepler, okay. Goodwill Hunting, okay. Emmy Noether, okay, it's great you've seen one female featured there. Okay. Okay, Katherine Johnson, yes. From the famous Hidden Figures movie. Okay, so I'll just wait for a few seconds and move to the next question. Oh, Mascoin from Pi. Catherine from Film Proof. Okay, I'm getting a lot of ideas of movies to see from this. Okay, that's great. So I'm going to move to the next question here, which is this. Now let's narrow it to female mathematician characters in books or movies. So we like to see, can you mention any female mathematician character in a book or a movie you've read or seen? It's okay. There was some that featured in the previous one. Okay, Catherine Johnson, yes, Eminoita, Ada Lovelace, yes. Any more? Okay, Catherine from Proof. Okay. Any more before we continue? Okay. Yes, Hidden Figures. Yes. Agora. Okay, that's the first time. Okay, Thomasina from Arcadia. Okay. John Clark. Okay. Grace Hopper. Okay. Okay. Quite a list. Lady Jen Shaka. Okay. Okay. That's great. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen and continue with this. So this is just to give a little bit of background into why I do what I do. Because we don't see a lot of this representation either in books or movies or even in terms of stories. Okay. So thanks everyone for participating. Great. So I'm going to move to this other screen. Okay, so when we had the Black Heroes of Mathematics conference last week, there was a lot of arguments about who a hero is, but it will be interesting to hear the thoughts of the audience at the end of this. Who do you think qualifies to be a hero of mathematics? Is it just anyone who studies mathematics? Should we have a way of quantifying their results for them to qualify there? So there's something to think about, and we'll discuss this at the end of this talk. Okay, so I asked myself this question, and why are there few resources on Black heroes of mathematics? In the list that was featured, at least I could recognize Catherine Johnson. And for me, I heard about Catherine when, yes, I've seen an article on her online, but she became famous through the movie Hidden Figures, and which was a huge success. People from all across could go to the cinemas to watch it, and it was a great thing. But what about other heroes who have done great things? Is she the only one who's done things? Why is it that we don't have people telling their stories in terms of books, in terms of animations, in terms of movies and all that? So it's something I would like to hear your thoughts on. Why are their stories hidden? Why is there lack of documentation of what they've done? And why is there no intentional efforts to tell their stories, either by individuals or by institutions? And what is the motivation if an institution or let's say a film producer wants to tell a story? What would be their motivation? Would it just be for the income or for the prestige of the institution or what? So these are a few things I would like us to think about, and hopefully during the questions and answers session we'll discuss it. Okay, so I was a PhD student between 2015 and 19 in Glasgow. When I started my PhD, I was the only female in my class, and I was wondering why. This was the UK, right? You expect to see more females being represented in mathematics, but I happen to be the only female, which was different. When I was at ICTP, we had a good balance of males and females, almost 50% each. At Ames, it was also at least 30% of the students being female. In my undergrad too, there was quite a good representation. So it seemed like as you go up the ladder, the number of females you meet really drops, and ask myself why. So that was just for, let's say, in general, having females, but I narrowed this search down to female Africans. So yeah, by Africans, I mean people who are originally from Africa or people who are from the diaspora, so African Americans and the rest. So I realized there were very few resources on them. So as a mathematician, what do? We find solutions to problems, right? We find solutions to challenges. So I said, okay, I was going to, in my own way, try to find a solution. And what was the solution I found? Was to document stories of female African mathematicians. Okay. So that's where the Femafricmaths then started. Okay, so a little bit into Femafricmaths. So as mentioned at the beginning, is to tell stories about female African mathematicians. So the name was taken, Fem comes from female, Afri comes from African, and Maths comes from mathematicians. What is our mission? Our mission is to inspire young girls, in general, not just girls, but in general, young people about the diverse career options available after completing a degree in mathematics. How, through interviews with math queens and school outreach activities. So growing up in my environment, I didn't see a mathematician. I didn't have a math teacher growing up. The first female math teacher, okay, I didn't take it back. I didn't have a female math teacher whilst growing up, but the first female math teacher I had was at a university, and I was in third year, who was Dr. McIntyre. She happened to be the head of department at the University of Ghana Department of Mathematics. And for me, it was really profound to see a female mathematician, which made me believe that I could also study mathematics. But what happens to a young girl who doesn't get to see this person within their personal range? How can we reach such a person? And when I was also at the university, we could only think of academia as the only option available when you study mathematics. So I remember people try to convince you to stop studying mathematics because you end up as a teacher, you can only go into lecturing and the rest, but we didn't see a lot of options available. So it made people drop mathematics at the university and not continue with it. So I wanted to change this narrative. When I was in the UK, I realized that, okay, people finished their PhDs, even in my office, and there were industry partners who were happy to take them on. Others went on to do their own things, but we couldn't see this back home in Ghana or in Africa. So I wanted to highlight this diversity in career options available. And what is our vision? Our vision is to see young girls being confident to choose careers in mathematics and related fields. So very often when you say you want to become a mathematician, because people don't see the end from the beginning, they tend to discourage you, or you tend to discourage yourself. But once you are able to see this, it gives you that confidence that, yes, I can be this mathematician. This person did this, went through this path and became this. So that's the mission and the vision of Femafricmaths, which we launched this in 2018. So we are a little, about 3 years old. What do? We do interviews. Okay. So what is our strategy? So when I was a PhD student, there's something I took from my education in Glasgow, the UK, which was the use of social media. So the use of social media. So I remember, so when I PhD students, you do training courses. It could either be presenting with impact or present your research on the web. Some of these training courses, the university requires you to do. And anytime I went for these trainings, I realized that, okay, students were either tweeting about it, or there was a lot of use of social media in these trainings. So I realized, okay, this is something, even though I'm here to study mathematics, I want to get a whole experience. I want to learn this new skill of using social media. So I registered for Twitter first after one of such trainings, and I realized how powerful it was to reach a wide audience. So the strategy is to use social media to reach audience. For me, my main target then was in Africa. That was my main target, but of course, the wider world in general. Why? I was a PhD student. I was away from my home country, Ghana, for a long time, but I wanted to reach a child in Ghana. I wanted to reach a child in another African country. And how could I do this? I could do this through social media. And for social media, we use the platforms of Facebook. So Facebook is where we have our largest following. Our next highest will be Twitter. We have quite a following there. We have Instagram, and we have YouTube. So we said our mission was to interview maths queens, right? So when we do these interviews and we have these videos, we upload them on our social media pages. And I'll show you the statistics very shortly. Now, when we upload it, someone from a far place can see that, okay, I can study maths and I can do this, I can study maths and I can do this. So that's one of the, that's the strategy we are using, mainly to use social media. But of course, we do other outreach activities in schools to support students, but our main focus is to highlight the diverse career options. So far, just a bit of overview of what we've done so far. So this is just my attempt at drawing the African map here. And in this country flags of places where maths queens have been from. So far, this list keeps on increasing. So we've done 2 more interviews here. The last time I did this was 26. So far, we've interviewed 28 female African mathematicians, and 2 from the diaspora. And Ghana features the most, maybe because I'm Ghanaian, so I can easily get guests from Ghana, followed by Kenya. Nigeria is also highly represented here. And our most latest interview is from South Sudan. For me, it was really, I was really happy to do this interview, which I'm here to share, because South Sudan, when we hear of the Darfur region, this person was from the Darfur region, you only think of all the negatives, but it's great to see such positive stories coming from them. So far, we've interviewed 28 people from 12 African countries. So there are 54 African countries. So far, we've covered about 20% of African countries, mainly from the West, where I'm based, from Central Africa, from East Africa, and Sudan qualifies as North Africa. So I think we've covered all the regions, but of course we have very few guests coming from North Africa and South Africa. So far we've covered interviews with maths queens from 12 African countries, and our goal is to reach every African country and tell the story of one female mathematician coming from this. Okay, so here's the country representation, but what about the careers we are highlighting? So let's not forget, the vision is to highlight the diverse career options available when you study mathematics. Okay, so since I'm an audience of mathematicians, I think most of our audience are professors, right? So professors of either pure or applied maths. So we've interviewed professors who are in these fields, which is one of the options available when you study mathematics, right? But that's not the only option, right? So one of our guests, she does infectious disease modeling, so more of tuberculosis and a few of these infectious diseases, but also something which has become very common lately is the It's data science. So most of graduates from mathematics, statistics, computer science now go into data science. So we've had at least 2 of our guests being data scientists. But now we use the internet, and everyone wants the internet to be safe. You want to be able to log in and not have anyone come in. So one of our guests was an internet security expert. So she worked with Mozilla, and she uses these encryption decryptions to make sure that the websites we use are safe. But also, we don't only interview established career people, but we also interview early career people. So we've interviewed PhD students, students who have now moved on into different careers. So PhD students, either in the UK or virtually. But now AI is now a big thing. With mathematics, you can do AI. So at AIMS, I'm a postdoc, and my postdoc's funded by Google AI. So even though I don't do research in AI, I taught a course in mathematics for machine learning in the AIMS African Masters in Machine Intelligence program. So it makes a young person see this and realize, okay, with the math that I do, the linear algebra, the calculus, all these things that I do is going to, you can apply that in AI, and they can choose not to drop mathematics, but to continue with it. There are statisticians here. So I've also interviewed some statisticians. And people say our next revolution is going to be a quantum revolution, right? I've interviewed some quantum information experts. So a child can watch us and see, okay, I can become someone in this field, even though the name sounds a bit big, but there's something called quantum information. And finally, someone in informatics. Okay, so with this, how do we do this? So initially, I was a PhD student in the UK, and we didn't do a lot of things virtually. So anytime I went for conferences, anytime people visited our university, I would speak to them and ask them to share our vision with them. And very often people agreed to be interviewed. So I interviewed them, and we edit it and we put it on our social media platform. But now with COVID, so COVID, we are in the middle of a pandemic, right? Which is not yet over. And even though there have been a lot of negatives with this pandemic, one good thing that has come our way is the ability to go virtual. I'm sitting in my home in Ghana, and I'm in Durham giving a talk, right? So now through virtual platforms, we do interviews with people all across, and we upload them on our social media platform. So with this, we are highlighting these diversities. Not everyone has to end up as a professor, but there are so many interests that you can do. Okay, so in telling these stories, I've seen some similarities in these stories, and which I would like to highlight, and probably we can discuss it in the questions and answers segment. So I've interviewed about, I mentioned 28 of these math queens. Some of them are even the first to receive a PhD in mathematics from their country. Maybe let me go back to our table. So I interviewed Komoso. So Komoso, she did her PhD in mathematics at the University of Bath with Chris Bath. And she got her PhD in mathematics in the year 2020. And she happened to be the first person from Botswana to have a PhD in mathematics, which means we have quite a long way. There are still some countries where you still don't have females pursuing maths to a very high level. Okay, so what are the similarities in our story? Since we are talking about Black heroes of mathematics, I'll start with that. Most of us, they don't have Black heroes as children. So when I was growing up, Black heroes of math. Yes, let me just add that. When I was growing up, there was no mathematician within my vicinity. There was no mathematics character that I could see around us and from around me. And that was similar for most of the guests that we've interviewed. But one positive thing is that in spite of us not seeing Black heroes around us, we dreamt beyond our surroundings, so beyond our surroundings. So even though we did not see something around us, it didn't mean we couldn't use our imagination to think that, yes, I've not seen a mathematician around me, but I can be one. But very often, you have a dream, you want to pursue maths, but how do you get there? Most of us had to travel abroad in order to get that expert advice, because we didn't have experts in our home countries in Africa to take us through what we wanted. So we had to travel abroad for our training. So experts in research area were mainly outside our home countries. Okay, so now I wanted to study mathematics. I wanted to do a PhD in mathematics after AIMS. But how did I have how could I get there? I'm more interested in algebra, abstract algebra. So in Ghana, I didn't have an expert who could supervise me, which meant that I had to travel somewhere. The UK was one of my first my top places I wanted to go to. Now, how do you come from Ghana to the UK to study? Very often, for most of us, so for me, most of my education has been funded by organizations and a lot of funders. So we needed scholarships, right, in order to go abroad. So for most of our guests, they had to depend on scholarships to study. And for this, I'll mention three key organizations which have supported. So personally, I got at AIMS, all our programs are fully funded. So I got funding for my master's from AIMS. But when I also went to ICTP, so ICTP is funded by UNESCO, so that was also fully funded. And my PhD, so my PhD was funded by Schlumberger. So Schlumberger is an oil company, and some years back, they realized that they didn't have a lot of female engineers on their oil rigs. And how could they bridge this gap? They probed and they found out that most females drop engineering courses at the universities because they didn't have a lot of female faculties teaching them at the university level. So they made a conscious effort that they were going to train female faculty members from developing countries so that we can study at top universities abroad and return to our home countries. So I was very honored to get a fellowship from the Schlumberger Foundation, which funded my 4-year stay in Glasgow. So most of us had to look for such funding opportunities. But the great thing is that after gaining all that rich experience in the UK, so that's something I'm really grateful for. No one can take that from you. The maths you learn, the other skills you learn, you get that total education from the UK or other top universities. But we also return to our home countries. Why? Because we've gained all this experience and we'd want to see change in our society. So most of us return to our home countries to impact whatever skills or knowledge we have. So these are some of the similarities in the stories that we've highlighted. But some bits of insights. Okay, so we said we wanted to reach young people through social media with the diversity in career options when you study mathematics. So I mentioned that most of our audience are on Facebook. So I'll just give a little bit of insight into our audience. So this insights consist of both Facebook and Instagram. So on Facebook, we have about 1.3K likes, but our followers are definitely more than this. In terms of the breakdown, we have more men following us than women, even though we want more women from, but I don't think it's that bad. It's almost 50-50. So we have 46% of our followers being women and 53 being men. That's on Facebook. Of course, more women are on Instagram than men. So on Instagram, we have more women following us. So I think we are reaching our goal, right? We want to reach more young people or young girls, and this is highlighting that. But also, so when we started this, it was more of reaching the audience in Africa with all these resources or all these stories. So we'd want to see a lot of representation of Africa in terms of the cities that our top followers are from, or the countries where our top followers are from. Okay, so here's a bit of into that in terms of where our top 10 cities. Yeah, so I live in Accra, so it's not surprising to see Accra highly featured here. And Kumasi is one of our second biggest cities in Ghana, so that's also highly represented here. Tamale, so Tamale is in the northern part of Ghana, and I'm happy to see Tamale here because very often when you hear of cities up north, you tend to it becomes hard to reach them. So I'm happy that through social media, we're able to reach them. But I live in Tema, so we have a lot here. But we see a lot of African countries now featuring here. We have Nairobi being our fifth highest city. Kampala is featured here. Khartoum is featured here. And yay, London is here. So we still have UK representation here. So this a list of our top 10 cities of followers on Facebook. But on Instagram, I see a lot of African cities. So Accra still strongly featured here. Lagos, Nigeria, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, Kumasi, and Nairobi. So we are not just reaching people in Ghana, we are reaching people from all across the continent and the world. Finally, about our top 10 countries where our followers are from. So out of this 10, we have 7 African countries being featured here, which I think is profound. So we have Ghana highly leading here, as usual, with the US, the UK. Then now we see our African countries coming in. So there's Kenya, there's Nigeria. So that would be East, West, East Africa. Then there's Canada here, South Africa, Sudan, and Cameroon. So we see Central Africa, North Africa, East Africa, and West Africa highly featured here, which means that we are reaching audience from all across the continent, but of course across the world too, because we see the US, UK, Canada also featuring here. One reason we see this, I studied in the UK, so I have a lot of contacts in the UK. But in the US, for the US, Canada, most of us as Africans or Ghanaians, we travel to either the US, UK, or Canada for our studies. So most of our audience are based here because they are originally from here and they travel there. And similarly for Instagram, we see different countries here, at least 2 African countries featured here. Okay, so I'm almost ending my talk, so we can have some discussion. So last week we attended the Black Heroes of Mathematics conference, and one question they asked was this: how do we get more Blacks into mathematics? How do we create opportunities for them? Yes, it's great to create opportunities for them, but one question that featured the most is how do you retain? So now I've interviewed all these 28 amazing math queens who are doing things in diverse fields. They are in the field, but there are lots of challenges in these careers, or it could be institutional or all that. So how do we retain them? Is there a way we can form a structure to make sure they are, I don't want to use protected, or they are retained? There were some suggestions. So some suggested that there should be some external body that will require that, let's say, every department will have some diversity there. Or yes, there were so many discussions, but what would be the motivation to have diversity in mathematics, either in an institution or in a country or wherever? And what would be their motivation? Should there be some external force to force institutions to do so? What's to be in there for these institutions? So these are a few things I would like us to discuss at the end of this. And yeah, I'll end by saying Medase. That's thank you in my local language. So thanks everyone for your audience, and I would like to hear from you. If you have any questions, any contributions, we are happy to. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angela. Let's give her a round of applause. Okay, I'm going to stop recording now so that people can ask any questions and have like frank discussions if they would like.